Hey guys, I'm Isabel and I'm an INFP coming at you live from a very dirty garage with some nice iPhone audio and digital notes to keep us rolling. If we're being honest, I'm still gonna ramble. So, 3 cheers for editing, am I right, folks? So, personally, I find that my anger will normally fall into one of 2 categories. It's either long or short term. So I'm gonna start with short term anger because I guess it's the less complicated of the 2. So short term anger would be like your typical one-on-one argument. I rarely resort to like just yelling at somebody, insulting them. I don't do that. Mostly I will make observations. It's almost always a personal it is always a personal dig that I'm making if I attack somebody. I'm going to be relying solely on my TE, my extroverted thinking, which is something that I will rarely ever do just because, I don't like to come off as unfeeling because it's very out of character for me. I'm always thinking about how what I say or what I do could affect other people, how people will respond to certain approaches to both positive and negative behavior. So when I'm mad and I let myself slip into that, it's not so much a loss of control as it is me relying on, I guess, an uglier side of me that I normally like to conceal. I get really bitingly sarcastic and uncharacteristically cruel in some ways. I always regret it after the fact because, as I'm sure a lot of other INFPs would agree, I don't like hurting people. I don't like using any of the gifts I have and weaponizing them. So a lot of times, even when I do slip a little bit into that just cold, rational side, I come back to myself and I'll start trying to approach it from a more emotional standpoint. But the problem is I get really emotional when I'm angry. So a lot of times my frustration will be read more as sadness. Usually if I get to the point of tears in an argument, it's because essentially I'm exerting all this energy trying to get this person to understand and using all these different approaches and just thinking and thinking and thinking, how can I get this person to get me? It's usually centered around 2 questions. It's why aren't you understanding me? And then why aren't you listening? So the first thing that I'll try to do, if I haven't, already relied on, once again, the cold, rational side of myself, the first thing that I'll try and do is reason with them. I'll try and get them to understand. I'll use different approaches to try and explain in a way that I think will make sense. So if it gets to a point where I feel like I've exhausted any kind of approach or explanation that I can possibly use to get this person to get me, that's when I start feeling like you just don't want to listen to me. You don't care. I could say anything and it wouldn't change the situation. And these are all things that I'll say out loud because once again, I start to have that sort of bitterness that leads me to just criticize and kind of pick somebody apart. Even if it's just moments at a time, even if it's rarely ever something I do, it's still a part of myself that I need to acknowledge. Moving on, I want to examine what I think is the much more complicated side of INFP anger, which would be anger in the long term. Normally when I'm dealing with anger over a long period of time, it's buried under like a mountain of denial. Like we're talking deep repression here, folks, because I don't like to associate myself with those kind of hate-fueled emotions. I don't like to see myself as a bitter person, but as a result of that, I end up just kind of shoving everything down, which is something that I always discourage people from doing. So I don't acknowledge the fact that I'm letting my emotions pile up on top of each other until it gets to a point, a crisis point, where I can't ignore it anymore. For example, if what somebody did hurt me deeply and I feel betrayed, I don't like to let myself be mad at that person. I'll rely on the observations I've made about them and what I know of them from the past, and I'll kind of just excuse away any of their mistakes, with or without their knowledge. Despite this though, I think in any case where I've been really, really deep in denial, I've known the entire time what the reality of the situation was. Because I'm so in tune with my feelings, it's a very multi-layered process involved whenever I'm trying to repress an emotion. So when I'm trying to stay in denial, which is always subconscious, I will construct like an echo chamber where anybody who I process my feelings with automatically feeds back whatever information I've given them, so that I feel validated in these emotions that I want to tell myself I'm feeling. I don't want to say that, oh, I'm actually angry and I should be angry because this is not fair and I don't deserve this. Instead, I'll just have other people confirm for me that, yeah, you're doing a good thing, you're listening to them, you're helping them, so that I don't have to deal with the reality of a situation, at least not for a while. I just excuse away any sort of pain that a person would cause me, and I just write it off as being a result of, their own pain, which is often the case, but it isn't an excuse. Or I'd say that I'm not actually hurt, that my anger isn't justified, that I'm not really angry, anything to stop myself from blaming another person for something that is their fault. But yeah, I think I should wrap things up here before I ramble too much. But if you'd like to shoot me a message or check out my original music or photography, you can find me here on Instagram. Thanks once again to Sarah for this awesome opportunity. And thanks for watching.
In my case, it's true that I consider a calm and cheerful person that tries to make everyone laugh, but it's also true that when I get mad about something, I literally explode. Okay, so let's put an easy example. Well, this academic year has been quite difficult for me because I was trying to study something that I do not like at all. So at the same time, I was forcing myself to try to enjoy what I was doing. And I remember that one time, well, many times I would say, that for example when studying programming, I literally exploded. Like, whatever I had nearby, I literally slammed it. And for example, if I was very focused on, trying to understand the subject, imagine that your sister or someone comes nearby you and they say, hey, can you do this for me? Well, my reaction is like, hey, can you please shut the fuck up? I'm trying to understand this shit. Yeah, I am like very passive aggressive. It's something that I don't like to recognize or do, but because it's a negative reaction after all. But when you are, perhaps it's because I'm kinda impatient, or or I hate the thing that I am doing. So that it literally becomes into a negative explosion, yeah. And to add anything else, to add something more, I would say that I'm becoming like more assertive, because when something does something that I don't like, I usually try to explain it in a more proportionate way than just throwing all away. And yeah, I'm like becoming more assertive and saying, okay, I have a problem with what you have done. So yeah, I would say that I'm trying to avoid all those negative emotions. So I think that would be all. I mean, that's the main that's the main way I had this year to express my anger because of the university.
Hello guys, my name is Jane and I am an INFP from Indonesia. And here I will talk a little bit about INFP and theory. Most people already know that maybe INFP don't get mad that often. And actually, yes, we are. We build walls and we hold up emotion in our feelings. We don't get mad over a silly thing, and we try to understand others, and so we try so hard not to angry and say stupid things that we will regret later, because we love kindness and everybody knows that. And the more mature INFP, I think they will have more control of their emotion, more control of their own words, their own thoughts, and the way they behave to other people. Even when they are angry, they can just go along with it for like some extent until someone have passing their lines and they think that there is too much to take, then maybe they can be in fury. But I think for INFP it is more likely they get mad to someone who they care about, their friends or their loved ones. I think INFP don't like to show their emotion. It could be cry emotion or angry, anything else. They just like they don't like to show their emotion, and they only show their emotion to people who already close to them, and it is including being angry. I think and it takes a lot for INFP to get mad, but once it comes to their limits and they don't have any choices but to show their angry feelings, I think that it will not be pretty anymore, and they will not be cute INFP like you guys think that they are, because there is a reason why we put our anger deep in our core, and we try so hard not to show it because we know that it's so bad, and we don't want people to see that side of us. And INFP can fight like soldiers and can be very mad if it is about their beliefs. Like they don't like if people want to teach them how they should live their life and try to change their principle that they have been lived for so long with that belief system. And they also don't like when people mess up with their loved one, their partners or their parents, their family and friends, people who they protect so dearly. INFP have that tendency to being so protective about something that they love. It could be a band that they love or anything they found dearly to their heart. They will protect it in any way possible. So if you talk about an INFP and theory, I think not so many people have seen it, because yes, it really takes a lot to get INFP to that side, and they are more likely to just stare at you, give you a dead stare, and you guys have better take that hint as just stay away from them, because and then also the silent treatment, they probably choose it more than fury and say bad things and hurt people with their words. They don't like that, so they just go silent, or even worse, they can just live your life and probably cross you from the people who are in their life. They can just think that you're already dead, and just don't try to come back once INFP already think that you doesn't even worth their energy. They will leave you and they will never come back. And that's just how INFP shows their anger, and most of them have an anger issue, so I think it's better for INFP to just try to learn to talk how they are feeling, so it won't be bottled up in their heart for so long, and it comes blow up to people who's not even a part of it, and yeah, it could turn to be a bad moment that maybe INFP after that will feel regret about it later. But for INFP, you also should forgive yourself if you ever lose your temper, because we are humans anyway. So as much as you like kindness, you have to forgive yourself too and give yourself kindness too. I think that's possibly can explain how INFP shows their anger. Thank you very much. Goodbye.